All right, we're going to go ahead and call the Morgan County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order for April 25th, 2022. We do have a quorum this evening with 3 members present, 2 that are not here. Mr. Rumbaugh, mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Copy of the minutes from our last meeting were mailed out to us. Were there any changes, corrections, additions, deletions need to be made to those minutes?
I didn't see any that
Thank you. Open for a motion.
Take a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye. Aye. Let's see. The agenda was sent out to us in advance. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Nope. Open for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Second?
I second it.
Motion and a second's been made. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, folks. Couple things here. We're going to ask Mr. Peden, our board attorney, to swear in everyone who's going to speak next. So if you signed up and you think you want to speak, please follow Mr. Peden's directions here. Thank you, Mr. Peden. All right, we're going to start with new business here in just a minute. When we call out, we're going to call up the applicant and ask them to come forward to the podium, speak into the microphone, start out by giving us your name and your address, and that's for everyone who wants to speak. It's a big room here. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, so one of the problems is we can hear you too if you're talking. So if you guys want to have a side conversation, we ask you to go outside the room to have that. Otherwise, it's pretty distracting. You with me there, gentlemen? Thank you. All right. Our first item on the agenda under new business this evening is public hearing U-22-02. Sarah and James, is it Shively? Thank you. Are requesting a use variance to operate a produce stand on property zoned R1. The property is located at 6182 Wilbur Road in Gregg Township and is zoned R1. So for this, I have Sarah Shively signed up to speak and James Shively. Sarah, you're first on the list. Again, a reminder, give us your name and your address. We'll just ask one of you at a time to come up, please. Thank you. Give us your name and address, and then what we'd really like to hear is what it is you're intending to do and why you need the variance and why the board should approve the variance.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
My name is Sarah Shively. My address is 3360 Middle Patton Park Road, Martinsville, Indiana 46151. We live very close to this property. I've grown up there, and we started farming about 10 years ago using sustainable farming practices. And last year we went to the farmer's market and started selling our produce and goods there. And then we wanted to be able to bring that to our neighbors. And when this property came for sale, we bought it with the intention of trying to do that.
Why do you need a variance?
It's residential, but there's no house on the property, and it's very small. You couldn't build a house on the property, and we thought a good use for it would be a produce stand. but we can't do that without a variance.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
It's right next to an existing business that does commercial sale. So it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be detrimental to the area.
Okay. All right.
What's your hour of operations?
It would be very limited hour of operations because we grow all of the food ourselves. We spend a lot of time doing that work, so it would be less than 20 hours a week. Probably 2 to 3 5-hour days based on how much produce we have coming in. And then in the wintertime, maybe 1 day a week.
So we're talking about, are you gonna be there in the morning, the afternoon? Are you gonna be open on weekends or what?
That would be, I mean, ideally, I would say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday or Saturday. And we would vary the hours on those days. On Saturday, it would probably be noon to 5. On Monday, it would probably be 5 to 7. I mean, we wouldn't know really until we saw the traffic flow.
You're
Exactly.
basically open in the evening when people are going home?
I would say that we will try to have 1 day where we will try to have evening hour, but not very late. It would be like 4 to 7 at the latest. Similar to like the Mooresville Market, they have an evening.
Okay, now, the other question I've got is, where are they gonna park?
Okay. There is a small parking lot, and we do not foresee there being a lot of people coming to buy produce from us. It will probably be more of a trickle. So I think that we will be able to put 3 to 4 parking spaces, and the store or the stand is very small, so you'll just come in, get your stuff, and leave. There's not going to be anybody.
Turn around in here and drive out
Yeah.
without backing out the road?
Yeah.
I have no other questions.
I know the driveway wasn't very wide.
Yeah.
And we didn't put the driveway in, but we will work with
Yeah.
whatever they want us to do to make sure that we are being safe, and, you know, we'll work with the, I think, highway department it is, to make sure that that is to whatever standards they want.
Any other questions from the board members?
I have none.
Board? Gary? Just got here, that's all right. Glad you're here, Jerry. Have you had this kind of business before?
We have been in the farming business. As far as selling to people, this last year was our first year. We've sold at the Martinsville Farmers Market for the season, and I'm on the board for the farmers market, so working with the health department, making sure that all the standards are met and we're only selling things that we should be selling.
So how'd it go? Was there much demand for it, for what you were selling?
Yeah. We sold pasture pork and produce, and we don't use chemicals or pesticides, and there's a lot of demand for that, especially with our food systems right now. I think there's going to be increased demand for that.
Okay, are you building any kind of building there?
No, we want to keep it as is, utilize the current structure,
Okay.
but we just want to, you know, enrich our neighborhood, but not necessarily change a lot of things or, you know, try to add too much. I mean, we're just, you know, food. Just come and get your food and then go, you know, to your homes.
Who's in charge of maintaining that property? Are you renting that whole property and you're gonna be maintaining all of it?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I have none.
No? Thank you very much. All right, James Shively, you're signed up to speak, and you're welcome to. If you feel like she's addressed it all, then you're welcome to pass.
Yeah, I guess she covered pretty much everything. I'm more of the,
Want to speak? I need your name and address, but
oh, yeah, I'm James Shively, 3360 Middle Patton Park Road, Martinsville, Indiana.
thank you.
So, no problem. But yeah, I will pass.
Okay.
She pretty much covered everything.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have no one signed up in opposition to this petition or anyone that is signed up as a person interested in this petition. So given that, at this point, we will close our public meeting and go into go into the hearing portion of this application. For the findings of facts, the applicant has written, well, under number one, it says the proposed use variance describe the proposed use of the property, type of use, hours of operations, access, necessary construction, employees, et cetera, and the applicant has written, we would like to utilize a small shed on this property as a farm stand. We would have limited hours and no employees. Number two, standards for evaluation. It states the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because, and the applicant has marked that that's true. Our plan, and they've written, our plan is not high risk or industrial and will have minimum impact due to its community-friendly purpose. It would offer an ideal buffer zone. The next question is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The applicant indicates that that statement is true and writes, there is a solid fence on all sides adjacent to residential property and do not expect heavy traffic due to limited hours of operation. The next statement is that the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. The applicant indicates that that statement is true and has written the property is so small it would be impractical for other uses. The next statement is the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. The applicant has indicated that that statement is true and has noted it would be very difficult to put a septic on this property to allow for residential use. And lastly, the statement is the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan. The applicant indicates that statement is true and has written the proposed use will be low intensity and is adjacent to industrial property. This use would create an ideal buffer zone between the gas station and residential property, but due to its temporary nature, could be easily returned to residential use in the future. For the technical reports, I believe we just have one this evening from the health department. They have noted that they have no objections to the proposed use variance. Staff's recommendation on this, and I'll read what they have written, is given its location and nature of business, this use should not negatively affect the general welfare of the community as required by finding of fact number 2.1. To the contrary, a produce stand in this location will actually be beneficial by making fresh produce readily available to nearby residents. Because of its immediate proximity to the commercial node at State Road 142, the property values of the local neighborhood should not be adversely impacted since this is a subtle change of the previous use of the property, finding of facts number 2.2. Staff agrees with the petitioner's assertion in finding of facts 2.3 that the size of the parcel is the peculiar condition of the property that makes it impractical for a traditional residential use. Staff also believes that the ability to fit a septic system on the property for a residential use is highly improbable, and this does not contradict the comprehensive land use plan's intent for this area to remain agricultural and environmentally sensitive as stated in finding of fact 2.5. Because this petition satisfies all findings of fact, staff recommends approval of this use variance, and if approved, staff encourages the board to specify the following conditions. Number one, hours of operation as determined by the BZA and agreed upon by the petitioner. And number two, all parked vehicles must be located on the property. Vehicles cannot block the driveway entrance or protrude into the road or right-of-way. Gentlemen, open for discussion on this application?
You or me, or what? I would move to approve use variance U-22-02.
We're just gonna discuss it here for
Oh,
a
okay.
minute, see if there's
Thought you were
any
calling for a motion.
conversation. Any comments, thoughts
I would
from the board?
be willing to approve it with the following conditions about parking and what they promised in their background and history here, that they will fix the driveway, get the permit and stuff like that. And hours of operation probably being no more than 5 hours a day and never after dark.
Ms. Shively, can you come back up to the podium, please?
Do I need to say my name again?
Nope, you're good. Thank you, though. Appreciate the offer. Did you hear Mr. Rumball's comments?
I did.
Okay. And on the hours of operation, do you think that 5 hours a day is enough time for you to operate your business?
Yes.
And if we said something to the effect that those 5 hours all have to be in daylight hours, you'd be in agreement to that as well?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Anything else that anybody needs to clear up with Ms. Shively while she's up at the stand or the podium? No? Yeah, the stand. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Shively, appreciate it. Any other comments or discussion amongst the board members? No, I agree with Bill. This is, to me, one of those right thing in the right place. I think it'll be an asset to the area. Don't see any way it'd be detrimental at all. And I would certainly vote in favor of this if the motion's made to do so. Any other discussion? Open for a motion.
I make a motion, that we approve it.
With the conditions on the
Facts.
5 hours and no after dark. And
The truth and probable injuries of public health and safety morals, general welfare community is approved by, the truth is by the staff report. The truth, the use of the value of adjacent property included the variance effective is substantially adversely manner because the reason stated by petitions finding facts and the reason as the stated report approves it. The truth of needed with the variance arrives for some condition particular to the property involved caused. The reason states that the staff report approved. The truth is that the third application term UDO constitutes an unnecessary hardship property which the variance is sought because the reason stated by the staff report. The truth that number 5 and approved does not interfere with substantially incomprehensive plan because Staff report.
Thank you. And are you including conditions on this approval for the hours of operation to be no more than 5 hours a day in daylight operations? And that all parking be confined onto the property?
Yes.
You are, okay, all right. So I have a motion with conditions. Do I have a second to that motion? I have a second by Mr. McGrath. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. 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 It is approved. Thank you. You don't have to stay, you're welcome to. You can't ride the buffalo outside the room here in the hallway, just a reminder on that. All right, our next item on the agenda this evening is public hearing D-22-03. Kelly West is requesting a development standard variance to reduce the front yard setback of a commercial structure to 0 feet. The property is located at 2285 South State Road 67 in Ray Township and is Zone B1. This applicant has also has another application listed under public hearing D-22-04, where they're requesting a development standard variance to build an addition across lot lines. Again, the property is located at the same address, 2285 South State Road 67 in Ray Township, in a Zone B1. I'd like to hear both of these at the same time. However, at the end, we will need to have two separate motions made for this request. Any objections to hearing both at the same time?
Nope.
Very good, thank you. For this application, I have one person signed up in support of for both the applications. I have no one signed up as a person of interest or interested in the petition, or as a person in opposition to the petition. So, Kelly West.
Hello, I'm Kelly West. I live at 190 North Border Street, Perrigan. Been there for 7 or 8 years now. We started a restaurant probably 4 years ago. We started at that ice cream store, and we just outgrew the building. Even through Corona, we was doing real well, and bought this building. We just want to expand it. We cleaned up that old bar and spent well over $300,000 on it already. And, we just want to keep growing. We want to pave the parking lot. I don't see what any of this is hurting. We're going to, when you come around that corner in Perrigan, it's going to look a whole lot better when new asphalt and nice new building. It doesn't keep anybody's, it's not real tall compared to the surrounding buildings or anything like that. It should just fit right in. We're not going to make a big splash there. We're just going to clean it up and have a nice new addition. We're going to hire maybe 10 more people. We already got 12 people we've had for years, and it's going to help there. I don't know what else to say really. The part that kind of gets close to the one entrance is going to be pretty much for delivery drivers and employees only, and it's not so close that you can't see to get on the highway or anything there. And we own the two houses beside it. We own from the alley all the way to Main Street, so there's really nobody close to it that could complain or would bother at all. It's just, those lot lines is all. There's actually a little triangle there that the railroad owns, and we've been finally got a hold of them after about a year of trying to lease this little triangle that's by the railroad tracks, that we're going to, asphalt that too. So we get, the paperwork for it. We're leasing that so we can have more parking, because, we expect to have quite a few cars, I hope, that's the hope anyway. So we want to make sure everybody can park easily, and, we're putting good lights in the parking lots, so the waitresses can get out at night and, we're doing everything we can to keep everybody safe and keep the community happy. We've been in business in town counting, we've been here a little over a year now, and the pit stop of 3 years. We've had 0 violations, 0 suggestions. I think we finally did get a couple of, you know, just little simple things at the new restaurant, but it's a lot bigger than the pit stop was. We was there 3 years and never even had any kind of health department issue or anything like that. You know, and what we've had at the new restaurants has been real minor. So I don't know what else to say, really.
Thank you. Gentlemen, questions from the board? I'd ask you to come up here for just a second. I want you to identify something for me on this overhead of the application here. The areas with the red line around them, is that your property for the building here?
Main Street right here, and we actually got another lot here and another house. This is an entrance, you can see, and this is a kind of our main entrance, and we're gonna make, see how.
Okay, I just want you to answer. So that is your property? Okay, all right, very good. Thank you. No, you're fine. So you've indicated everything within the red lines is your property there, and I see in this aerial, there's some cars parked in one of those sections. The other section is additional parking, is that correct, to the south of that?
Yep, the whole thing.
And do you have an entrance onto Main Street?
Yes.
As well as one on to 67?
2 on 67.
Two on 67, one just to the south of the building and one to the north
Yeah,
of
the
it?
one on the north is gonna be pretty much just employees and, you know, deliveries. I
Okay.
mean, I'm not saying nobody will never drive through there, we're gonna discourage it, you know, somehow.
Well, it looks like with your addition, you're going to protrude into what would be the normal traffic route out that north,
that's why
in
we
and
wanna
out of
slow
that
that
north
down.
entrance. In the addition that you're proposing, is it going to be flush along the north-south, west-facing section of your
Yeah,
building?
just straight down the line.
Okay, so you're not extending out towards the highway any
No.
further than you already are?
Actually, the road bends a little bit there, so I'm getting a little bit farther away. Not
Okay.
much, but some, you know.
All right. And when you add this addition on, is this going to be enclosed?
Yes,
Okay, it'll be
everything's under roof, yeah.
okay, and it'll be a year-round addition? There's no
Oh,
patio or porch
yeah.
involved in this?
We're wanting to put maybe a little beer garden in, you know, but it ain't really right off the bat, because, you know, this is a $400,000 project. We're gonna see what we, you know.
Okay, all right.
But that's the hopes, is to get some parking lot, you know, like a beer garden, you know, seating, outdoor seating.
And when you put this addition on there, are you renovating the exterior of the rest of the existing structure to match up, or are
Yeah,
you
it'll
doing
all-
any changes
it'll all
on
be
that?
It's just gonna match what we have already. It's all the other building's already new, you know, only a year old, a little over a year. So we're just doing more of the same.
Okay, and since we've got you in here and able to ask you these kind of questions, I'll ask the question about lighting in the parking lot.
We
Is
got-
there lighting
I think it shows on the
at night?
blueprint, it gets two on pedestals with lights on both sides, and there's already 2 of them on, you know, the electric company poles. One on the east and one on the west. We're gonna put 2 in the parking lot. I haven't got a blueprint right in front of me, but I can probably show you on that if you wanna know where they're gonna be.
No, I just am interested, are you adding additional lighting? It
Yes,
seems to me like
exterior.
that parking lot's dark
Yeah,
at
we
night.
thought about that for safety, for, you know, we don't want anybody going out in the dark there, even our waitresses or anybody.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant?
The capacity of the restaurant?
I think it's less than, I think it was, I don't have it in front of me, I think it's 80. The restaurant, right now it's 49. Right now it's 49 people.
How much?
49 people, plus the employees. The new part, I think, is, I'm unsure, something like 80 people more or something, not counting what'll be outside seating.
Going to be separated from the existing part or
Excuse me?
connected?
The parking lot?
Oh, the building. Part.
Oh, it's all connected right on the end of the building, yeah. There's already a concrete slab right there where the actual bar part will be, and we want to pour, it's 54.6 by 40, so it's right around 2,500 foot addition to the building.
fire department check it out?
Yeah, he was gonna be here today, but we had we got a conservation club meeting. Mr. Perry was gonna come too. They eat there every day, or, Will does and all the fire guys, and they're got no problems. He was gonna tell you that he can still get a fire truck through the east end there, so. But he's in there every morning. We do things with them, when they're having their food drives and stuff, of course, we support them. Baseball, we got banners and buy uniforms, and have for years,
I have nothing else.
I've got nothing, no.
Thank you. Gordon, anything?
No.
No. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
As I said earlier, we have no one else signed up in support of or to speak in opposition to or as an interested party in this. And we have two applications in front of us. The first one, D-2203, for the findings of facts on this application. This is the minimum front yard setback request. It looks like they're exactly the same. Have you looked, Laura, at them? The petitioner's finding of facts? Yeah, they are. Okay, all right, good. I'll just read them one time then. All right. Number one, the proposed use variance to be allowed to construct a 40 by 54 feet 6-inch addition to the existing family restaurant, keeping the restaurant totally family, and adding the new addition into a bar and lounge area with seating and a pool table, with bar lounge area would be for 21, or adults 21 or older. We are asking for a front setback use variance to be allowed to continue with the north build line of the structure and extend it to the east 40 feet. Also for a use variance to allow us to build across the lot line between lot 1 and 2. The property owner owns lots 1 through 4. Hours of operation, the applicant notes that the family restaurant now are Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. New bar, if approved, Monday through Thursday, noon to midnight, Friday and Saturday, noon to 3 a.m., and Sunday, noon to 8 p.m. Access will be from the existing driveways on either side of the building if approved. Then under 2.1, it states the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. And the applicant notes that that's a true statement, and then has written, Paragon only has 2 restaurants now. By approving these variances, it would let us reopen again the only bar in Paragon. That been in the same 4 lots for over 40 years. If this gets approved, this would allow us to increase the number of employees from 12 by 6 to 8 more. Paragon area could always use additional employment opportunity and adding additional tax base for the town. Under 2.2, the statement is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially or adverse manner. The applicant states that that statement is true and writes, we believe it wouldn't because we have cleaned up the property and updated the family restaurant, already improved the area and adding to the value of the area. Because this would allow us to increase the number of employees from 12 by 6 to 8 more. Paragon could always use additional employment opportunity, increasing its tax base with additional property tax, income tax, adding another amenity for the area. Keep in mind, this has had a bar on these lots for more than 40 years, and it never has over the years. Under 2.3, the question is, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties to the property. The applicant notes that statement is true and has written, we know it would because it wouldn't allow us to construct the new addition and allow us to grow our business, not allowing us to increase our employment or adding to the tax base and not adding another amenity for our community. For the staff reports on this, on the first one, for the zero front yard setback, they make this recommendation. Finding of fact number 2.1 asks if the reduction of the front yard setback would be injurious to the general welfare of the community. The restaurant is a use that has existed in that location for many decades without the front setback. It seems reasonable to expect that enlarging the building with the same zero setback would not be detrimental to the public's general welfare. Finding of fact number 2.2 asks if property values will be negatively impacted by granting the variance for a zero setback. Given that this building and several others along State Road 67 already have zero or significantly reduced front yards due to the State Road 67 right-of-way, this reduction would not be out of character for the area and would have no impact on property values. Finding of fact 2.3 asks what practical difficulties occur without the approval of the variance. In this case, the irregular shaped lot makes adding on to the existing building challenging. Shifting the addition back 25 feet reduces room for vehicular circulation around the back of the building and may create a problem meeting rear yard setbacks. For these reasons, staff supports the petitioner's request for a zero front yard setback variance. And then the staff report, or recommendation for the application D-2204, which is building across the two lot lines. They have written, finding of fact 2.1 asks if allowing the building to be constructed across the lot line would be injurious to the public or to the general welfare of the community. While staff could only find 2 examples in Paragon where structures were built across lot lines, there are numerous examples of structures built at the property line or with very little setback, and this has had a similar impact. If the variance were denied, the petitioner could seek to replat those 2 lots into one, and it would have the same result. In either case, it's unlikely to impact the general welfare of the community because development in the area is compact and clustered, and this will have the same look and feel as the rest of the community. Finding of fact 2.2 asks if property values will be negatively impacted by granting the variance to build across the lot line. As with finding number 2.1, the town of Paragon is already built out with compact and clustered development patterns, so this variance would not be expected to have a negative impact on property values. Finding 2.3 asks what practical difficulties occur without the approval of the variance. For this request, enlarging the existing commercial building requires the addition to be physically connected to the original structure. The practical difficulty arises from the odd-shaped, smaller lot sizes created by the original town plat in 1921. For these reasons, staff supports the petitioner's request for the variance to be built across the lot line. For technical reports on this, Health Department has no objections to the development standard variance request for the building across 2 lot lines. And and no objections to the variance request for the front setback. Gentlemen, open for discussion.
Sounds pretty common sense to me. We had other items in Paragon in our discussions that basically have the same problem, not much road frontage, or too close to the road, which has not affected anything. And it's just logical on both units.
Thank you.
D 2203 and D 2204.
Other discussion, comments?
I think it's a good, good deal for Paragon to have this business there.
Thank you. Gordon, any comments, discussion on
I
that?
drove around it, I thought there's plenty of room there, property, and there's not, you just adding on the same building, that's not too bad at all. So, I think it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I would agree. It sounds like the business has been there longer than I've been alive, and they're wanting to improve it. The front setback, to me, is I think one of you gentlemen mentioned that the existing building already is there. They're not going to encroach any further out towards the highway or towards the property line on that. And the building across two lot lines is something that we generally would approve. And in this case, it makes perfect sense looking at the layout of the lot. The only thing I would ask is if a motion is made to approve this, for our basis on the findings of facts, I would think we would want to go on each item with staff's recommendation. I think they outlined why that variance should be supported, maybe a little better than the petitioner did on that. Be my only thought on that. Any other discussion?
I have none.
No? Open for a motion. We have two to make here.
Yes. Okay, I will move on motion D-22-03, the Development Standards Motion Worksheet, and I find that I approve the request made by Kelly West in petition D-22-03 based on the reasons in the staff report. On item 2.2, the use of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected substantially under its manner because the reasons stated in the staff report. And on 2.3, it is true the strict application of the terms of the UDO will constitute an unnecessary hardship applied to the property which the variance is sought for the reasons stated in the staff report. What was your request, John, about?
Oh, nope, you just covered it.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second to that motion? Second from Mr. McGrath. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. 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 That is approved. Would you care to make another motion?
Yes, this is
Mr.
on
Romo?
Development Standard Variance D-22-04. I move that we approve this, and I move we approve the petition, Ms. West, on D-2204 for Development Standard, and I do this for the reasons stated in the staff report. That's on 22-.1. On 2.2, it is true that the use and value of the area adjacent property, including the variance, will not be affected substantially. The reasons stated in the staff report. And on 2.3, it is true the strict application of the terms of the UDO will constitute unnecessary hardship applied to the property, and that is the reason stated in the staff report.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second to that motion?
Motion, we approve it.
Thank you. I have a second from, who made the second on that? Gordon?
I made the motion.
Okay,
Oh, okay, I'll
Did-
second.
Who makes the second on
I'll
it?
second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. That is approved also. Mr. West? You're all set. You're welcome to stay. I'm sorry? Well, good luck. Next item on the agenda is U-22-03, Spencer and Laura DePoy on behalf of SLD Real Estate LLC are requesting a use variance to operate a retail butcher shop and meat processing facility in a B3 zoning district. The property is located at 10463 North Kitchen Road in Madison Township and is zoned B3. And for this application, I've got, looks like 3, maybe 4 people signed up. Looks like somebody may have crossed their name out in support of this. But I have Spencer DePoy.
Good evening. My name is Spencer DePoy. I live at 5466 East Watson Road, Mooresville, Indiana, 46158. And I'm here on behalf of SLD Real Estate, who's my wife and I. We're here to request zoning variance on a building located at 10463 North Kitchen Road in Madison Township. That property is currently owned by Fletcher Realty LLC, who have joined me here tonight in support. We do have permission to request the variance approval. We have a son that is getting ready to, has completed his certification and training to become a butcher. And one thing he would like to do is operate a butcher shop. So we have a purchase agreement with Mr. and Mrs. Fletcher on this building, subject to a couple conditions. One of them is the variance approval. The butcher shop, the retail butcher shop actually doesn't require the variance, but there is a dire need in this community for a meat processing facility. And one of our largest income stream opportunities is that opportunity to bring in and process local livestock. And that does require a variance, so we're here this evening to request a variance on that. Owens Butcher Block will operate retail hours. For the most part, it'll be Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday will be probably 8 to 6, more than likely. Saturday, 8 to 1, subject to our customer load. We would also like to be able to accept livestock earlier in the morning, maybe as early as 6 to say 9 o'clock throughout the week when traffic flows are lighter. So that we don't have retail customers there while we're trying to get livestock trailers in and out if necessary.
How long would he allow animals to be confined on the premises prior to slaughter?
Hours.
Slaughter the
Yeah,
day
so
received?
they would always slaughter day received, yes.
What about your manure waste removal?
We have listed the services of a company that will pick them up as often as we need to on a per trip charge.
These are both manure that you generate and the offal?
Sir. The property isn't currently connected to a municipal sewer system, but we've been in contact with Aqua America, and they do service the property. It's within, it's on the property itself, and so we would, based upon our conditions, to operate this particular business, we would obviously hook up to municipal sewer.
Your unloading area be fenced?
The actual unloading chutes will be fenced, yes. So where a trailer would.
Fence both the truck, trailer, and the animals getting out?
No. That would be, nobody else in the industry would be doing that. So the way that all the locals operate, including the ones that we go to, you actually back your trailer into a loading chute. The size of the chute is about the width of the trailer, sometimes narrower, so that it only allows entrance for about a 36-inch sliding door, and the door is operated from the side, and you let them out that way. So there is no opportunity for the animals to go anywhere but in the truck, I'm sorry, into the chute.
Provided they can back the trailer and they do everything right. Yeah, I would probably prefer a fence around there because you're in an area where your other slaughter facility in the Mooresville area is a little less congested possibly.
It's also right in the middle of downtown Mooresville.
I know that.
Gentlemen, other questions?
So this will be a retail operation also? They'll be
Yes.
slaughtered there and people can come in and buy what they want?
Yes, sir. The retail meat's purchased through USDA wholesalers, and so we would have vendors, obviously, that would be making meat deliveries. We would process those on site from, half wholes, quarters into retail cuts of meat, which is how the retail shops operate, and then the processing facility would be a secondary business.
So what kind of animals are you processing?
Beef, hogs, and lamb or goat.
And you mentioned sewer. There's sewer on that property now?
Yes, sir.
Where does that run to?
It runs on the very corner of the property, and it goes to the Wildwood Shores Station. I guess there's an official name for it. I don't know what it is, but I have a letter of approval to connect, or a letter of service included in our zoning packet.
Is there going to be any rendering there?
No. So we'll collect the offal in totes, and the totes will be collected as a trash removal, so to speak,
On a daily basis?
as necessary. So as the totes, which will be stored inside until the day of release, will be moved outside. The truck comes, throws them up over the top like a trash can, and goes off from there.
How long, if you butchered that steer that day, when will the offal be removed?
It really just depends. I mean, based upon our initial capacity, we're actually looking to do 3 hogs a day and 1 beef a week. We would estimate probably 2 to 3 pickups a week based upon that. But again, it's an estimate. If they provide us different size totes, if they provide, if we get a lot of really large animals, if we get, 10 pigs, it just is, so our capacity will be limited to the totes or our storage capacity for the offal.
But you're saying you think 1 beef and how many 3 pigs a day?
That's our initial request, or our initial business plan, but I don't want to be limited to the quantity of animals we can run through a variance. I want to be limited by our cooler capacity, which is, what our real bottleneck would
What will
be.
your cooling capacity be?
Our cooling capacity is being studied right now by a mechanical firm that, based upon the size of the building and the architectural drawings, they will give us a cooling load, and that cooling load will back into our actual production capacity. So there'll be multiple coolers. There'll be an initial cooler, which is an initial cool down, which will take it from a normal body temperature down to about 34 degrees within a certain period of time. And then those will be moved into what they call an aging cooler, which is what we take out of to process. So our bottleneck becomes our cooling capacity in that initial cooler. I'm sorry, I don't have a number for that until the mechanical, group gets back and tells us this is what it would be.
I mean, that's going to be what your capacity of the plant is going to be, is the cooling.
Yes, sir. And understand, this is not a very large building, so we're not looking to put up a large USDA processing facility. We're looking to operate a small family-owned business that will be predominantly meat, retail meat cuts. However, the demand in the community is so large that before we even open, we have people calling us based upon the rumors, looking for dates. Matter of fact, as of this morning, we have 200 commitments over the course of the next year.
Access to this, are you gonna come in where Marino's garage used to be?
Yes, sir.
Into that cutout of the curbing there?
Yeah.
And then drive past Eubanks to the back of the building?
So we would probably pull into the parking lot and then back, depending on, again, the architect's recommendation, we'll either offload on the west side or the east side based upon the potential traffic. But the initial thought is we would actually have the trucks pull to our parking lot and back into the chute from there.
And your customer parking is going to be in that same area at the rear of the building on the
Yes, sir.
south side of that building?
Yes. We've actually spoken with Eubanks, and while I don't have anything solid, we've discussed a purchase option on that building as he prepares to retire, at which we would like to assume that property as well, if possible.
Now, is that just the building he's operating his HVAC business in, or does that include the building that Marino used to be
I actually
in?
think those are separate parcels, but in our conversation, he only wanted to sell the one. So I'm assuming he would separate them off if they aren't.
I'm sorry?
I'm assuming he would have to separate the parcels if they aren't.
And then you're talking about putting what's the technical term for it? The scraps?
The
waste?
offal,
Offal?
OFFAL.
In totes. So is it sitting outside on the loading dock with flies and everything coming in and?
No, they would be, based upon what we have seen, they would be very similar to a garbage tote that has the two wheels and, you fold it over and it's got a lid on it. Again, ours would stay inside until the days of pickup so that they aren't outside doing just that. They would be in our processing room.
Would you be, upon approval of this, if a condition was made that they do be kept inside until pickup?
I'm sorry, if our awful totes remained inside until
Would be
pickup?
Inside until pickup.
Sure, yes. I would like permission to put them out the morning of pickup or at closing the evening before, just
They would
out of,
not be left out overnight.
well, if he's coming at 5 a.m. and because we would be first, you would want me to come in at 5 a.m. to put them out? If that's the condition, yes, we would do that. I would think normal business would say if I put it out at, of an evening with something securing it, he could pick it up in the morning, but if that's a condition, yes, we'll put them out that day.
I got a question. Do you have a temporary generator backup in case you need power to keep the freezers going?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna give that one back to the mechanical group. They build what they call redundancy in their systems. And so the idea would be, should we lose cooling capacity in one, the secondary cooler would have enough cooling capacity to maintain for a certain period of time until that could be repaired. So it's not so much, and then from a power standpoint, yes, we would probably need to look at having an auxiliary power source. That would either be propane or some sort of fuel to maintain cooling.
They're gonna be like a showcase room or something where the public can come in and pick up?
Yeah, there'll be a retail purchase option that you can walk in, much like a meat counter, where we would have display cases with fresh meat, in addition to USDA packaged frozen meat that you could have a selection of different products from.
Can you have this as an inspected plant or an exempt plant?
Not USDA expected, but it would be custom exempt and retail exempt. If we are successful doing this, we would seek USDA approval at some point. But again, I think by that point, our plant requirements would be much larger than what we have here. So small family business, custom exempt, retail exempt.
I have to tell you this. You're talking about awful with an O. Back east, we had something called an awful, which was a 2-gallon milkshake.
You're back east though, Gerald. Yeah, I just know that having butchered, overnight in August, it's gonna smell. You're gonna have about 52 raccoons there every night and,
People eat them too.
6 or 8 dogs and things like that. That's why I asked that
Sure.
question.
Let's put it out the morning of then.
Make sure you're the one that cleans it up when they tear it all out. Because they can get in those totes pretty easy.
Actually, I have a son that's going to operate this business. It's going to be his problem.
Yeah, that's my concern, and I would imagine you live on Watson Road, you drive past it every day.
Every day.
I live down there, I'll be driving past it every day too.
Sure,
I'll
which
hear-
means we're gonna have to keep it in really good condition as well.
I'll hear from my neighbors, and, not that I don't otherwise, but I just want to make sure that, you know, we had the produce stand earlier that the board approved, and, you know, I made the comment right thing in the right place. I want to make sure that we're doing the same. If it goes, if there's a motion made to approve it, that we're doing the same thing, and we're watching out for those who live right around it. I don't live right around it. I'm not going to smell it, anything like that, but I want to make sure that, because you are going in, even though it's a business, a zone for business, you know, you got LeBlanc's right across the street from it. You've got folks on the other side of 144. There's houses to the south all down through there. That we're not saying, yeah, come on in to something that's going to be offensive to them.
Sure.
A lot of those folks have been there for a long time.
For what it's worth, the property setback or the quantity of area required to make the variance didn't really include just one residential property, maybe two. One of them did not come in favor, tonight, but I think Jeff spoke with them and said they would be in favor of a processing meat facility across the street. They knew what was going there. The rest is more of an industrial type feel. There's body repair shop. There's the old gas station that people come in and out of pretty regularly. There's an auto repair next to me, and there's going to be an empty building behind me. So other than that, there's a roundabout, some state property that we'd like to take better care of than what the state does.
What about signage?
Yeah, so right now, our only proposed signage would be two metal signs based upon the square foot requirements that Laura had provided us, one on the east side and one on the west side that say Owens Butcher Block. That would really probably be it. Obviously, the building needs some interior and exterior love, and so we'd be doing some interior renovations in addition to an exterior, paint, cleanup, whatnot.
Is there a concern with contamination inside that building? Because it was an auto repair place for a lot of years.
Sure.
And now you're going to be bringing in.
So we had to complete
Processing meat.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. We had to complete an environmental study for the bank prior approval, and that's been completed. The bank's fine with it.
Have you been in touch with the fire company around there?
Not directly, but I've spoken with the fire inspector for the town of Mooresville. He's aware of what we're doing and would obviously be involved in the project. He's excited to come out and buy steaks as well. We've also been in touch. We've applied for a USDA grant. We've been asked for some secondary information, which we understand many times is a really good indication of their desire to fund. And so the USDA has been involved in this as well. Not only will they potentially grant 20% of our operating cost, our startup costs, but they also will back this loan at a pretty high percentage.
I don't have any other questions.
No? All right, thank you very much. Judith Fletcher, you've signed up to speak. You're welcome to if you'd like to. If not, you can pass. Judith Fletcher? Pass? All right. Somebody with Judith Fletcher that I can't read your writing. Okay, all right. And then, looks like maybe Randy, is it Allen? Okay, all right. Okay. I have no one signed up in opposition to, or no one signed up as an interested party in this. So at this point, we'll end our public meeting, go into the public, or go into the hearing portion of the application. Again, this is an application for a use variance. And in this, we have to agree that the applicant meets several findings of facts. The first being, it states on the form, proposed use variance, describe the proposed use of the property, type of use, hours of operations, access, necessary construction, employees, etc. And the applicant has written, Owens Butcher Block would like to occupy the building. It is a retail butcher shop and custom processing facility. It will operate Monday through Saturday, approximately 7 to 5 with 3 to 5 employees. Access off Kitchen Road onto North Kitchen Road. Construction will include interior renovation and connection to private sewer. Section 2 under 2.1 makes a statement, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The applicant notes that that's a true statement and writes, Owens Butcher Block is a retail business which also looks to provide custom meat processing to the community in central Indiana. 2.2, the statement is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And the applicant has checked off that that is a true statement and writes the proposed use of the building will increase visibility by bringing another retail operation into a vacant space. Nature of our business is no less commercial than our neighboring properties. Under 2.3, the statement is the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. The applicant has checked off that that is a true statement and has written property is currently zoned B3. Our proposed use sits on the line between commercial and industrial use. Under 2.4, the statement is the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which a variance is sought. The applicant has checked that that is a true statement and has written the unnecessary hardship is the processing of red meat. Current zoning does not permit it. Only one facility in Morgan County currently offers this, and our ability to process meat drives our retail sales. And under 2.5, the statement is the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan. The applicant has checked that that is a true statement and has written the current land use plan identifies commercial development and does not interfere with the current comprehensive plan. Technical reports. I can find them here. The Health Department states the IDOH, Commercial Division, will need to contact it to determine if the existing septic system is adequate for the proposed change of use. For staff's recommendation, they have written the following. Finding of fact number 2.1 asks if the use will be injurious to the public, injurious to the general welfare of the community. This is a commercial node along a busy transportation corridor, so this use is unlikely to be detrimental to the general public if approved. Likewise, finding 2.2 asks if property values will be adversely impacted by allowing the use at this location. This commercial node has had fairly intense commercial use for decades, so allowing this specific change in use of the existing commercial building should not have negative results on property values. Finding of fact 2.3 asks what peculiar condition of the property creates the need for the variance. The B3 zoning allows the butcher shop, but not the meat processing. So the existing zoning of the property drives the petitioner's need for the variance. Finding 2.4 asks for the unnecessary hardship that occurs if the variance is not allowed. The petitioner believes this use meets an unfulfilled need in the market, and this service will be critical to the success of the business overall. Finding of fact 2.5 wants to ensure that the proposed use is not in conflict with the projected development in the area. This area is earmarked for residential growth and development, but the State Road 144 corridor will be used to provide locations for goods and services needed by the residents in the area. Therefore, this use does not interfere with the goals of the comprehensive plan. Because this petition adequately satisfies all the findings of fact, staff recommends approval of the petitioner's requested use variance. Gentlemen, open for discussion.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this proposal. I just wonder about the facilities for sewer and how big a septic system you're gonna have to have. It is needed, I'll guarantee you that. You can't get a kill date about anywhere. I would not be opposed to its use with no conditions.
Other discussion?
You know, I just thought of something. A question for the applicant.
Can you lean forward so he can hear you, and we'll have
Can I
him
speak
come
to
back
the
up?
applicant again? I got a question. Maybe I missed it. Are any animals gonna be in there alone overnight,
No,
alive?
that was asked earlier, so they would be processed the same day they brought in.
Any other discussion?
I think it's going to be good for the community if it's approved.
Well, I know when we were working on the comprehensive plan several years ago, 144 in that corridor was identified as an area for expanding development, and that included businesses. It sounds like this has been pretty well thought out. I would be in support of this if a motion was made to approve this as well. Any other discussion? No, open for a motion.
Yes, I would move to approve use variance request U-22-03 with no conditions. And I would base this special exception that I approve it. That the maintenance and operations of the special exception will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. And the reason is, as stated in the staff report, that's 2.1. 2.2, it is true the special exception will not be injurious to the public, injure the use and enjoyment of the property around the immediate vicinity for the proposed already permitted because the reasons stated in the staff report. 2.3, it is true the establishment of the special exception will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development of the surrounding property for use permitted in the district because the reasons stated in the staff report. Number 2.4, it is true that the adequate facilities, access road, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided because the reasons stated in the staff report. 2.5, it is true that adequate measures have been used or will be taken to provide ingress and egress as so designed to minimize traffic congestion in the public roadways because the reasons stated in the staff report. In 2.6, it is true that the special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all of the requirements are set forth. You say I'm reading off the wrong one that came with my piece of paper here?
You're reading the special exception. That's for Mark and Marietta.
Okay. I screwed up then. Well, that's a yellow paper here. Okay, I'll start again. The use variance request for U-22-03. It has 5 portions with it. We approve request made by, on behalf of SDL Real Estate, petition made for the following reasons stated. We're going to reprove it. Number of reasons under B, the reasons stated of staff report. Number 2.2, it is true that the use and variation of the area adjacent to the property, including variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because B, the reasons stated in the staff report. 2.3, it is true that the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved because the reasons stated in the staff report. Excuse me. 2.4 is, it is true that the strict application of the terms of the DO will constitute unnecessary hardship if applied to the property which variance is sought because B, the reasons stated in the staff report. And 2.5, it is true that the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan because the reasons stated in the staff report. There are no conditions.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve with no conditions. Is there a second to that motion?
I will
I have a
second.
second. All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is approved. And folks, we're going to take a 5-minute break. So we'll be back here at 5 till.
The only thing about a retail establishment where you're killing real beef is you always wonder. I can hardly hear you. I got my hearing aids in today. The only thing retail is they sell my meat or somebody else's meat.
Kenny's getting his side beef now. What's next, Martin Marietta?
No, that's the last one.
That's next to Morgantown one or something?
Yeah. Well,
What did they do, start early today? Huh? Did you start early?
no, 6:30.
We were late. We got here after 6:30. Wrecked the place on the show.
Put your hand out here, we'll smack the shit out of it. At least on April 25th.
Martin Marietta, that's. What?
The next meeting is May.
It comes in the mail.
May 23rd.
It's interesting because this meeting was on 2 of my relatives' birthdays, and the May 23rd will be on one of them.
What's the flea market, the 35th? 34th? 34th?
30 days, half September, April, June, and September. It's on the 30th.
Hey. Where'd you get that hat? Where'd you get that hat? Huh?
I got it. I picked through it.
Huh?
Friday I'll have more of this.
Oh, no, it doesn't say Martin Marietta. Don't forget at the fairgrounds on the 30th is the flea market.
The 30th?
Yeah, the 30th, right, Chris? Flea market?
30th, next Saturday.
Might want to stop in, you know?
9, 8?
They say 8, but we'll be there at 6.
You might want, hell, we were. You might want to stop in there. My what? Your signs are still up.
without a quorum.
So people will get there early, like 7 o'clock or so, yeah. I would, yeah, 8:30, 8:30. Huh? I think, no. It's gonna, the hog building.
Their board is 7, the hospital
Where the pigs go? Yeah, down there is what Kathy said, yeah.
it's my board.
They got something else going on, I think.
I just
Will.
wasn't there. I didn't look at the BZA.
Remember 8 o'clock is all right.
Well, we saw you this afternoon, so you know we
How are you, Kenny? I'm doing good. If it quit raining, we'd do a lot better. We got an inch of 4/10 this morning at the farm.
didn't get a shot before we had it. No, we do that after.
Got two things for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's getting bad, but we gotta carry.
If you ever want to know what this airport.
She's trying to wind everything down.
Especially your own name.
She's trying to retire, wind it down to about.
What'd you get a side of beef?
You'd have to ask her. I don't get into her business, she don't get into mine.
You didn't see the one in the lobby there? Seriously? No.
Right here? Yeah.
Well,
Is the microphones on?
We won that dinner Thursday night, me and Pam.
No, the main kill force goes down.
I don't know.
What I was preaching. We need to what they're doing out there. They dug on this. Stuff in it. They're gonna redo it eventually. Right? They got a 10-foot 2-inch display case up in the wall. What after your board, John? Displayed there as well.
I don't
Little
think so.
strip mall with the gas station is zip off.
all right, you guys ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys. Let's keep it moving. Disruptive there, Mr. Hale. All right, we're back in our meeting here. Our next item on the agenda is D-22-05. Randall Allen is requesting a development standard variance to reduce the front yard setback for a pole barn to 30 feet. Property is located at 1364 South Morgantown Road in Jackson Township and is zoned for ag. For this application, I have 3 persons signed up in support of. The Fletchers aren't here, are? They just left. Okay, all right. Did they sign the wrong one, or? Okay, all right. I have 1 person signed up, looks like Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, if you'd come forward, give us your name, address, tell us what you'd like to do and why we should approve your request.
My name is Randy Allen, 1364 South Morgantown Road, Martinsville, 46160. I bought a little piece of property on Morgantown Road, not far from Nass Chapel. It's just a little 1-bedroom. I think it used to be a garage at some point in the past. I'd like.
That place with all the fencing around it?
Yeah, there's a lot of fencing around it.
It used to be a garage.
That's right.
Go ahead, sir.
I'd like to build a pole barn, 40 by 60, The only kind of a square spot on the entire property where I could build it where it would look halfway decent is in the front. It needs to be 6 feet away from the existing structure, which means that it would be 30 feet away from the property line on Morgantown Road. And that's why I'm applying for the variance.
Questions, gentlemen?
You know who your neighbor is to that side?
I'm sorry?
You know who your neighbor is on that side of the property?
On which side?
Closest side, the 30-foot side.
It's Owens.
That house is for sale, Mr. Owens' house is for sale, I believe.
Yeah, and it's already sold. That house was sold.
You're not farming with this barn then? No. I got enough questions.
How big a pole barn are we building?
40 by 60,
40 by 60.
yes.
What are you gonna do with it?
I have a couple of antique vehicles, and that's it.
No commercial business out
Oh,
of
no.
it, no produce stand, butcher
Oh.
shop?
No,
It's a big toy box, is that correct?
somewhat. And the house, the current house does not have stairs, which is a good thing for me. I'm getting to the point where stairs are not good.
You're asking for a 30-foot setback when the requirement's 35, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, any questions, any other questions?
I have none. I do have a question for Mrs. Parker, though.
All right, let's finish with
Yeah, we'll
the
finish with him.
gentleman, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
May I ask you a question, Mr. Parker? Does this meet dwelling requirements, this house? Because it was a garage to the adjacent property at one time. The existing, well, yeah. And I won't dig any other dirt.
All right, we have no one else signed up to speak in support of or in opposition to or as a concerned citizen or interested party. At this point, we'll end our meeting and begin our public hearing portion of the meeting. This is an application for a development standard variance from the 35 feet that's required to 30 feet. And on this one, the applicant has written, let me make sure I go through all this properly here. Under number 1, proposed use variance, it states, describe the proposed use of the property. And the applicant responded, I'd like to build a barn on the property and I will need a setback variance for the front yard. Under 2.1, it states that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, general morals, and general welfare of the community. The applicant notes that that's a true statement and writes, the property will not be injurious to the public health because it is not unusual to have a barn built in this area. It's just going to be a storage barn. The barn is still significantly set back from the road by 30 feet. Under 2.2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The applicant has noted true to that statement and writes, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner by the construction of the pole barn, as there are many of these types of buildings located in this area. Under 2.3, the statement is, a strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. The applicant notes that's a true statement and writes, the structure being built has to be 6 feet from the existing house, and the house cannot be placed in the backyard because of the shape of the property. The amount of trees that would have to be removed and the locations of the existing septic. By placing the structure in the front yard, only one tree will have to be removed, and the property is more square in the front. For the technical reports, the Health Department states that they have no objections. For the staff's recommendation, they have written, finding of fact number 2.1 asks if the reduction of the front yard setback would be injurious to the general welfare of the community. The area is very rural, and pole barns and similar structures are a common feature. The appearance of another pole barn that is still 30 feet from the roadway would not be detrimental to the public's general welfare. Finding of fact 2.2 asks if property values will be negatively impacted by allowing the front yard setback to be reduced to 30 feet. Again, pole barns are a common occurrence in rural areas, and this should not have any negative impact on property values. Finding 2.3 asks what practical difficulties occur without the approval of the variance. The petitioner has an irregular shaped lot that makes the backyard taper off at about a 45-degree angle. The buildable area is further restricted by a required 6-foot setback from the existing house. The location of the septic system in the rear yard, large mature trees the petitioner would like to preserve. These restrictions make the front yard the best possible location for the pole barn. The request only reduces the setback by 5 feet, which still leaves 30 feet, a front yard between the barn and the property line. Because the petitioner has adequately satisfied the finding of fact, staff supports the petitioner's request for a 30-foot front yard setback variance. Gentlemen, open for discussion.
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's out in a rural area.
Any other discussion?
I'm fine with it.
Comments? No? Bill?
No, I have no comments. I would not be opposed to it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be in favor of it, and I think staff did a good job outlining all the issues. I would call out, I don't think the petitioner in their response on 2.3, they mentioned that they referenced the new building as the house, not the pole barn. So for that reason, if a motion's made, probably should refer to staff's recommendation on that particular one. Any other discussion? No. Open for motion?
Make it. Rath, it's your turn. It's your turn.
I'd be in, approve this request based on the statements in the staff report.
All right, so you're making a motion that we approve.
D 2205.
Okay. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. That is approved.
I think I have one going. Revise it.
You're all set.
You want to just take them down to them?
This is for reload of stone.
right, our next item on the agenda this evening is public hearing SC-22-02. Timothy, is it Oaks? On behalf of Martin Marietta Materials Real Estate Investments, Inc. is requesting a special exception to expand an existing gravel and sand mining operation. The property is located adjacent to 8520 North Waverly Park Road in Harrison Township and is zoned for agriculture. For this application, I have one person signed up in support of, and that's Mr. Oak. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Oaks? And I have 3 persons signed up as interested in the petition and no one that signed up in opposition. Mr. Oaks.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Tim Oaks. I'm an attorney with offices at 1 American Square Street, 2900 Indianapolis, Indiana, 462-0200. Here this evening on behalf of Martin Marietta Materials, which is the petitioner. This site is the expansion of an existing operation. That's critical importance. This is not the introduction of a new sand and gravel operation in the area. This site, which is almost 300 acres in total in size, started over 40 years ago on the far northern side. 1990, it was operated by someone else. In 1997, Martin Marietta came to town, so to speak. In 2008, there was a special exception that this board granted to extend to the south. And then this evening, we're asking for another special exception to extend the mining operation onto about 95, 96 acres, again, to the south along the river. It's necessarily, quite frankly, along the river. The thing about sand and gravel mining operations is you got to go where the sand and gravel back, and that typically is along the river. You can't just dig anywhere. It doesn't work that way. You have to go to where it is. We have taken soil borings in this area, so we know that the material is in fact there. I passed out 2 site plans to you. And I did that because while at first glance it may seem very similar to the site plan that was part of your packet, which it is, we've made one very important change that I'll get to here in just a minute. When I say that this is an addition to an existing operation, it's important not only because you're not introducing new use to the area, which is now used to it for 40 years, but all this does is it increases the life expectancy. It does not increase the intensity. So the equipment that we use to take product out, the sand and gravel out, only can take so much sand and gravel out at one time, and we respond to market demand. And so that demand, fortunately for Martin Marietta, has been rather consistent for the last several decades, which is why we're running out of material at our existing operations and want to expand. It extends the life expectancy of the overall mining operation by about 10 to 15 years, depending on market demand. It stays pretty consistent. It'll probably be a little closer to 10 years. What that means is that in things like truck traffic to and from the site will not increase. It's going to be the same. The truck traffic will go longer because the life expectancy of the mine is extended. That's what I mean by not increasing the intensity. It doesn't mean that we're going to somehow increase overall capacity and volume. No, it just increases the reserves that are available to Martin Marietta. If this is part of our process, we did have an open house, invited all the neighbors that received notice to come and attend last week. We did meet with some of them. One of the neighbors who was here this evening actually made some really valid points. And the big difference between the site plan that I handed out and the one that was part of your packet is we were originally contemplating relocating the access point to this relatively speaking, rare occurrence. All the truck traffic is going to go north to get over to I-69. So by keeping the access point up north in its current location where everybody's used to it, we prevent that traffic from crossing in front of all those homes that are located on the east side of North Waverly Road. So that's the big difference, and that's the site plan that we will adhere to. As you look at that.
If I, you're saying the plant area, the new one you're going to take, not going to use it, right?
So the plant area would remain. We would put a plant there, but there's a interior haul road that would take it back up. We keep the scales and the office and
Okay,
everything else up there. As you look at the site plan, there's a couple other things worth noting. One is you see the dashed kind of dark blue line, it's labeled regulatory floodway. Almost all, 90-some% of the real estate that's located west of North Waverly Park Road is special flood hazard area. It's 100-year flood. And a big chunk of it, as you can see, is actually in the floodway. You really can do two things when you're dealing with a floodway. You can farm it, but you're going to get flooded out from time to time, or you can do sand and gravel mining. We think this is a higher and better use for this property to mine it. We are proposing a berm. It's a 10-foot tall berm that would be located in the green area as shown on both site plans. The second one, which is labeled at the top, has the typical cross-section of the berm, shows that berm. Then on top of that, we would do additional plantings of trees every 30 feet on center. We've extended that berm as long as we can. We cannot extend the berm into any part of the floodway because DNR, Department of Natural Resources, would deem that as restricting the flow of floodwater. So we can't do that. But we have extended as far as we can. We've also tried to keep all of the areas of the property that have mature woods and trees on them. We're going to keep them. So if you look at that site plan, you look just south of the plant area, that area that has the wood trees would not be mine. Then as you get down further south on the site, those trees, we have to start putting the berm behind those trees. That would not be mine. Again, referring to the site plan, there's a slightly lighter blue dashed line, which is this one. And you can see it comes down here. That is the proposed extent of actual mining. So as you'll see, we're not mining all the way to the southern boundary of the property. We're cutting off a little foot of the property in the little southern triangle, if you will. That does a couple of things. One, in full disclosure, that the material starts getting a little sparse down there, so it isn't terribly worth mining further south. But it also allows us to stay away from, there's a little cluster of homes down to the south there that keeps us further away from, which is an added benefit. But that would be the extent of the mining operations. The setbacks on this site for the portion of this property that runs along North Waverly Park Road, you're looking at 100 feet. Setback to the property to the west would be 75 feet. The typical mining hours of mining at the existing facility, and again, we're not anticipating any changes there, is roughly 6 to 4 Monday through Friday, and occasionally 6 to 2 on Saturdays. The only time that Martin Marietta ever operates outside of those hours are when they have a state project. NDOT says we're running the project 24/7 because we want to impact the public as little as possible. And if we've got to meet their demands, we've got to meet their demands. Otherwise, we abide by those hours. A couple other notes that are worth mentioning. There's no blasting here whatsoever. There has not been nor agree with their staff report and the findings that they have proposed. And to the extent that the board would like it, we're certainly willing to do it, not only because we said so at the public hearing, but for the benefit of the residents in the area. We are willing to put our obligations in the form of written commitments that would be recorded against title to the property and enforceable not only by the county, but by the neighbors as well. Those commitments would be no new access unless we, as Martin Marietta, is forced to close its access by Morgan County. Don't know why that would ever happen, but we can't be left without access. We would comply with the mining limits and the site plan in terms of the area that we would actually mine. We would install the berm and the landscaping on it as prior to actual operations on the property. The trees would be planted during the first viable, planting season. We'd agree to the hours. We agreed to no blasting, and then no dewatering. Perhaps it might be necessary temporarily as we're initially installing scooping out the overburden, but once the operations get going, there's no dewatering. And then finally, it's a pretty regulated business. We do have several IDEM and DNR permits that we will have to pursue, and we're happy to present those to your planning staff as part of the operation. Now, this has been here 40 years. This just extends the life. We're going to keep traffic patterns the way they are, with traffic volume the way they are. We have a watering truck out at the site to spray to keep any dust down. And from a drainage perspective, the simplest way to look at this is we're taking material out of the floodway. So you're creating more capacity. You're not restricting capacity at all. So I know one of the adjoining property owners suggests that this is going to cause more flooding problems in the area, particularly for their farm, which is located to our west and directly adjacent to the White River. Frankly, we don't quite understand that. To the extent that property floods, it is because the White River has nothing to do with this site, will have nothing to do with our operation. We're going to create a great big lake, and so it's not going to cause any more problems to anyone in the area on drainage, and certainly we'll work with the surveyor's office to make sure of that. But from a flooding perspective, if it does anything, there's a negligible benefit. Certainly it doesn't cause any additional flooding, and it doesn't interfere with the operation of farming on that property to the extent it can occur. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for your time.
Not going to put any roundabouts around there, are you?
Unless the county's willing to pay for it, then I don't think that's happening.
You guys, with scientific methods or something, pinpoint when the sand and gravel will run out, or when you're not going to be doing it anymore?
We can, and we can do it pretty well. I mean, it's a function of market demand, so if no one's buying the sand and gravel, it doesn't get used up as quickly as it's now. But it's been very consistent over, especially the last 20 years. And based on that, probably this extends to like probably a little over 10 years. If we go through a slowdown, it might be as long as 15 years. We know that because there's a layer, you give the topsoil the overburden, and then you hit the sand and gravel, and at the bottom of that is hard pan clay. So we know the width of the seam, and we know how much material is there. So we can tell how long it's going to take. And it would be a little over 10 years. If we have a slowdown in the economy during that time, it could be as much as
Then does it become a lake there?
Yes. Yes, we will have certain obligations in terms of, first the county commissioners have adopted a mining ordinance that we have to comply with, but we also
you put trees up, you put trees and stuff in there, shrubbery and all? Gets kind of like a wildlife preserve almost?
It'll be, nature lover's paradise, probably a hunter's paradise too.
The soil you take off to move your new machine over here, is that what you use for the berm?
Yes,
Okay. You don't have to take it very far then?
that is correct.
Okay.
If you had, Mr. Hale, I guess I could, he's sitting behind you there. You have any questions concerning your relationship with the park and the gravel pit?
Why don't we, let's keep it to the applicant right now,
Okay.
and then we'll, if we want to get
Well,
somebody else up.
I'll ask you that leading question. How are you doing with the park?
We have contributed some of the real estate that is part of the path, and we're certainly willing to continue those discussions as it relates to this property. That's not an issue.
That was a question I wanted him to answer, but you did a very good job. Thank you. Appreciate it for the park.
When you build this berm you were talking about, is that going to create a swamp land in between that berm and the road, or the berm in your facility where water would normally drain through there? Now we're going to be impeding that, and we're going to have a,
No, we've been working with the county. We're aware that there's going to be, Waverly Park is going to be redone, repaved, resurfaced. There'll be, drainage that runs along that. We will not interfere with that. We'll get plans to the county, particularly the county highway superintendent and also the county surveyor's office to make sure that doesn't happen.
I'm talking about between Waverly Road and your facility.
No, yes, I understand.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
no.
okay.
Either it will be, it'll be graded so that the water runs into a ditch or a swale that has fall to it so that the water runs. We're not going to leave an area where water's going to stand. That would be unacceptable. And we understand that there might be some areas down south, down here, that actually already has some standing water in it. We had a conversation with one of the neighbors, and we're gonna take a look and see what we can do to try to help that situation out. We've just got to, the only limitation we have, I tell you without reservation, yeah, we'll take care of that. The only reservation we have is the state gets a little, you gotta work with the state, they get a little upset if you throw dirt into a 100-year flood area. But we're taking enough out that I think we're gonna be okay. We just gotta work through that issue with them. We're happy to do that.
And if this is approved, and you may have said this and I missed it, and if that's the case, I apologize, but when would you commence mining in the new area?
We've got about a year or two of material left, and so we start that. The earliest would be 2023, the latest probably 2024.
Okay, and you may have answered this too, and I, again, may have missed this, but how long has Martin Marietta owned the new area here that's designated in by the light blue dotted lines?
They own a big chunk that they bought in December. They have a lease for the rest of it, and in the lease, they have an option to buy it, which they'll exercise if this is approved. They've owned the property up north and been on the site since '97, so now 25 years. And then the mine was in existence for about 15 years prior to that.
Okay. All right.
You've kept the bank looking very nice.
Thank you.
Excuse me. It's been a nice operation from my standpoint.
I was on the path today, and it's really a nice path. I didn't go completely down it, but I did go about a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile down and then just walk back.
It's a nice amenity, it really is. Be nice to extend it.
Other questions, gentlemen?
I have none.
Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to persons that signed up as being interested in the petition. The first one I have is Bill from 7735 North Waverly Park Road. Bill, I can't make out your last name.
I think you pretty much answered my questions.
Okay, thank you. How about Alan, is it Partlaw? Partlow.
Alan Partlow, 7855 North Waverly Park Road. And my concerns too were just basically the road that came out, you've answered that question, and about the impact it might have on the rest of my fellow residents and traffic and that kind of stuff. And it really, I just wanted to come up and speak that they stepped up and did what I thought they should have done. And the road that they said that they were gonna put in, and I think it's gonna be a lot better the way it is now instead of the way it was. Just because of the impact on traffic and that kind of thing. So, I was really impressed when they changed their mind. So, I think they're trying to work with us, so I guess we need to work with them. Nobody wants a gravel pit in front of their house, but, like you said, you have to go where the gravel is. I know you guys really can't not approve it, unless the third petitions are made, so I guess we just have to do the best we can with what we got. So that's basically all I have to say.
Hold on just a second. Gentlemen, any questions? Mr. Partlow, can you come up here for a second? I don't know if you've seen this map here, and they've numbered different properties on here. Is yours one of those?
No, I'm down here.
You're down, so you're on the south end of
Yeah, I'm
this.
looking right at this one's probably a better map. Kind of showed you, I'm right here looking at the new area.
Okay.
So I'm up high on a hill here, so, I
Yeah.
want to be looking right at there.
Got a good view of it?
I have a good view of it, no
Okay.
matter what they do, so.
All
Like I
right.
say, nobody wants a gravel pit in front of them, but, there's nothing that we can really do about it, so.
All right. And if you could step back to the podium there for just a second. How long have you owned the property there? How long have you owned that property?
1992.
Okay. All right, so 30 years by my, okay.
And I've lived in Waverly my whole life, so, I think everybody here has lived in Waverly their whole life, so kind of know the area pretty well.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Thanks for coming up and speaking and for acknowledging the applicant working with you. Margaret, is it Clark's? Okay, did you want to come up and speak?
We take the microphone back to her.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, she screws it up.
74, 65.
Thank you.
My name is Margaret Clarkson. I've lived on this farm 2 years because, as Kenny Hill knows, I lost my property in Waverly because he ran a park. And now this would flood my field. In one of the fields, there's a 42-inch gas line buried, just between this and the river. And if it floods over, it's gonna wash. I don't know what I'm going to do. I own the property because my husband and my father-in-law have it before me. And we have letters, the Ennis's from it for me. And I am worried that we're going to be flooded out. They keep telling me no. We asked if they would build a levee around it. No, they didn't need that. So all I can say is I'm sorry that they want to do this. One time it was asked if you
Okay.
It already floods, we know. We're worried it's gonna be a lot worse. This is my daughter.
Margaret, so it's her time to speak. She signed up, so we're gonna let her give her testimony she'd like to give.
And they had to come back and fill in their gas time before, and they just delivered. And I know that when the gravel pit now, I live just on the other side of it, north of it. And when the flood real bad, the water would go over the walls, or over the sides there. So it's a sad thing to me to have them go in and do something like this. And maybe ruin the gas line as well as my farm. And I had to build a new house when I lost my home. And it's on the farm above the river. But what am I going to do if I lose that and don't have the money to pay my payments?
Any questions, gentlemen?
I have none.
No? Okay. Now, the young lady that's with you? Okay. Susan, you didn't sign up. That's how we let people testify, and I clarified that at the beginning of the meeting, or at the beginning of the meeting. I'm going to ask you to come up here for a second, though, just because your mom maybe has a little less mobility than you do. And I want you to show me on this diagram where your mom's property is.
It is all behind where Craigan's, I'm upside down.
This house right here?
Well, you can't see our house from here. We've got all behind to the river. We've got,
What on this map, would that help? That's the Cragen property right there.
we're all back here and all to the river.
Okay, you're to the south of it then, correct?
Well, where they're gonna put in, we're gonna be right.
West of it, I think, what she said.
Okay, this section right in here.
We've got,
Okay,
there'll be
all right.
3 fields. that
Okay,
are-
thank you very much. You answered my question. Thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Clarkston. All right, I don't believe I have anyone else. I do not have anyone else signed up to speak as an interested person or a person in opposition to this. So I'll allow the applicant to come back up if they'd like to and address anything maybe that was brought up or not.
I'll be very brief. I want to start by saying I have a lot of respect for Mrs. Clarkson. She's lived in the area for a long time. She and her daughter were at the open house, and we've had this conversation. First, in terms of, she thinks that this operation is somehow going to cause flooding issues with her farm to be worse. We simply disagree with that vehemently. We're taking things out of the floodway and floodplain, we're not putting it in. And so just common sense tells you it won't make matters worse. In terms of the gas, you know, this is, I think, part of your packet. And this is the outline of the property we're dealing with. Their property, which is over here, the entirety of it is in the floodplain. And I wish we could help Mrs. Clarkson and her farm. We can't. That farm is going to flood. And it's not because of the sand and gravel operations, because of the White River. And then in terms of the gas line, Ed Deere, who's with me, is the vice president and general manager for the state, large area than that. He has 14 operations is not impacted by this operation. It isn't on this property. No part of the easement is on this property. And when the gas and those pipeline companies install their pipelines, they get a wide enough easement to make sure that you can't get close enough to it to bother it. And we're not close enough to it. We don't get into the easement area. So our operations just aren't going to impact that gas pipeline easement. So we believe we meet all of the requirements that are listed for a special exception. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any other questions for the applicant? You had an open house, you called it?
Yes.
When did you do that?
We did that last Wednesday night.
Where did you do that?
We had it in Tool, shed, the equipment building on the site, so on the north side of the site, the existing operation.
Why did you have it?
Sorry?
Why?
We wanted to reach out to the neighbors to see if they had questions, address concerns. You find things out sometimes, and in this particular instance, for example, we had one of the neighbors that didn't want an access point, and as he forced us to look at that issue, we realized, hey, we don't need that. We can make this better for ourselves and make it better for the neighbors. That's the whole point of having an open house, is for things like that.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we've heard from everyone who signed up to speak or given those an opportunity to speak. I think we did have one person pass on that opportunity. So at this point, we'll end our, pardon me, our public meeting and go into the public hearing portion of the meeting.
We're in trouble.
Again, in front of us, we have an application from Martin Marietta for a special exception to expand their gravel and sand mining operation. For this application, read what they have submitted. If I can find it here. Okay. Special exception information, proposed special exception use, and then it's referring me to see section B. Do we know where section B is in this? Thank you. Excuse me, it says the proposed special exception uses mineral expansion and processing. Specifically, the petitioner is seeking an expansion of its existing sand and gravel mining and processing operations located adjacent and north of the subject property. The expansion increases the life expectancy of the mining operations, not the intensity. As a result, no increase in traffic is anticipated, solely as the result of the expansion. The setbacks and portion of the property to be mined is shown on the enclosed site plan. The topsoil overburden will be removed with standard earth-moving equipment, but mining will occur via a dredge as well as with existing operations. As a result, no dewatering will occur. Employee and truck traffic will enter and exit from existing access point on North Waverly Park Road. The processing plant could be moved further south, in which event a new access point at a location approved by the County Highway Department would be utilized. Hours of operation will remain the same as current operations. Under 2.1, standards for evaluation, the statement is the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special exception will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The applicant indicates that's a true statement. And they have written the mineral extraction and processing does not use hazardous substances or explosives. Traffic will be consistent with the existing operation, which means no increase, and mining will occur via dredging with no dewatering. Under 2.2, the statement is the special exception will not be injurious to the public or injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. The applicant has indicated that that statement is true and writes the extraction and processing of minerals already occurs adjacent to the north of the subject property. The approval, therefore, is on expansion of a use that the immediate vicinity is used to existing. The expansion will increase the life expectancy of the existing operations, not the intensity. Under 2.3, the statement is the establishment of the special exception will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. The applicant indicates that statement is true and writes, the surrounding area has developed in a normal and orderly fashion with the existing operations, and nothing with the expansion is being proposed that would alter its impact. Excuse me. Under 2.4, the statement is adequate utilities, access, road, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes the only utility necessary is electricity, which is available from the property to the north on which the existing mining operations exist. Under 2.5, the statement is adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designated to minimize traffic congestion on public roadways. The applicant indicates that statement is true and writes, initially vehicles and trucks will use the existing access off of North Waverly Park Road with no increase in traffic volume covered by the expansion. Future access further south on North Waverly Park Road may occur, but the overall traffic volume on the same road would remain unchanged. Under 2.6, the statement is a special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all other requirements set forth in this UDO that are applicable to such use will be met. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes, mineral extraction and processing is listed as a special exception in the Ag District in the UDO, and the submitted site plan shows all applicable provisions of the UDO will be met. For the technical reports, from the county engineer, they comment in previous discussions, Morgan County needs to review any new entrance plans to validate site distance and draining requirements are met. The health department states they have no objections to the proposed. For staff's recommendation, they cite that there are 6 findings of facts that the BZA must determine to be true. Finding 2.1 asks if the special exception will be detrimental to the public's general welfare. The mining operation already exists at this location, so the neighboring community is familiar with its operations. The petitioner states that the expanded operation will not create an increase in intensity over what is currently being experienced. Finding of fact 2.2 asks if the special exception will affect the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties. There is no way that the mining operation does not affect the neighboring properties in some manner, but some degree of mining has been occurring in this general location for nearly 50 years. If approved, the special exception will extend it for another 10 to 15 years, but the intensity of the operation will remain essentially the same, so the adjacent owners know what to expect. The expansion area will be buffered with a landscape berm along the length of the expansion area. Finding of facts 2.3 is concerned about altering future development of the area. The mining operation does not appear to have had an impact on development in the area, and it will eventually go away. Much of the area has already been subdivided into neighborhoods before the mining started, and staff believes the more significant factors affecting future development in this area is the significant special flood hazard area along the west side of Waverly Park Road and the lack of sewers to serve additional development. Finding of fact 2.4, ask if there are adequate facilities to serve the operation. Staff believes there are sufficient utilities to serve the mining operation if it were to expand into this new area. Drainage plans will be reviewed by the surveyor's office and county engineer before construction starts. Finding of fact 2.5, ask about the access to the site. The property has direct access to Waverly Park Road. The county engineer has reviewed the location for the new entrance, and he is satisfied with its location and design. Finding of fact 2.6 seeks to confirm that the use is permitted as a special exception in the Ag zoning district. Staff can confirm that mineral extraction is on the list of special exception uses in the Ag district. Notwithstanding any feedback from the open house or public hearing, the petitioner has complied with all the requirements of the special exception. Therefore, staff recommends approval, noting that written commitments can be made a part of the approval if needed. Gentlemen, open for discussion.
They've been a good neighbor. We've gone through this before with the last section they did, which was approved, and I would not have any objections to it. They've met all state and local requirements. It looks nice when I drive by there. Not too much noise, even when the gravel's running through that pipe.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion?
I think they covered it really well, and I think they'll do anything to make it right.
Yeah, I think they did a nice job as well, and hats off to you for taking the time and the energy to meet with the local residents down there and be able to try and address their concerns with it as well. Do have a question for Ms. Parker on their commitments that they made, and I would believe that since they filed their initial application where they were discussing a secondary location as an entrance point south of the existing entrance, do we have something in writing from Martin Marietta that commits to all these things that they spoke about tonight, not moving the access road, building the berm, landscaping the berm? Do we have something in writing now from them that we can incorporate into this if a motion's made to approve this?
I provided them with the format for creating a written commitment, so it is something that they have access to, and I don't know that they prepared one for tonight, but certainly can bring that back.
Okay, so if the board were someone were to make a motion to approve this, it could be contingent on them supplying you written documentation to the commitments that they've made orally tonight? Okay, all right.
And then any reference in the findings of fact to the proposed new entrance, you can simply, instead of the staff report or the petitioner's request, item C would be for the following reason, which is that entrance is being removed or has been removed, so make a reference to it specifically when we're looking at 2.5.
Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen, any other questions, discussion?
I have none.
No,
Like I say, I'm
open
very
for a motion.
Pleased with their being good neighbors.
Open for a motion.
I would like to move to approve SE-22-02, based on the finding of facts with a written agreement with Mrs. Parker to be received by her, outlining your specifics, including your driveway. I find under 2.1 that the established maintenance operation of special exception will not be detrimental to the danger of public health, and I do that, reasons stated in the staff report. On 2.2, it is true that the special exception will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the other property of the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted because, and that is the reason stated in the staff report. 2.3, it is true that the establishment of the special exception will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development of the surrounding property for use permitted in the district because the reasons stated in the staff report. 2.4, it is true that adequate utilities, access road, drainage, and other necessary features have been or are being provided because the reasons stated in the staff report. 2.5, it is true that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress, so design the minimum traffic congestion in the public roadways because, and that will be number C, the following reason, egress remain the same. On 2.6, it is true that the special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all the requirements set forth in the UDO are applicable to such use as will be met because the reasons stated in the staff report. And that you would reply in writing to all of Mrs. Parker's requests as to what we have agreed here.
All right, I have a motion with a condition. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
A motion and a second, all in favor. Please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. It's approved. Thank you very much. Thank you, by the way, for the work you've done with the Parks Department down there. It's been a great add-on to the county. All right, moving along, we have nothing under old business this evening. Mr. Peden, do we have a BZA attorney report this evening? No, thank you. Ms. Parker, do we have a plan director report this evening? Okay, all right. I'm going to make a request, and I don't know if this is the right format or time to do it in, but the order of this paperwork is, to me, is driving me nuts. Man, I'm fishing through this. The cover page, great. The next page, their finding of facts. The petitioner's findings of facts next. After that, the staff reports. After that, the staff's recommendation. And when I say staff's reports, I'm talking about the Board of, I should go back, the Board of Health and the Highway Department and the surveyor, if they're making any comments. So it kind of goes in the way that we're reading through. So I can just flip 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, instead of trying to fish back around. And then after that, I don't care what's after, what order it's in after that, quite frankly. If I want to review it off, that would really help me tremendously. I would appreciate that. There's my wine for the night. Thanks for indulging me. Any other business that needs to be conducted this evening, gentlemen? Nope. Open for a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I just thought of something, just a minute. Do you think at our next meeting and future meetings, we could get the county to shut that wall over there? So we don't have to hear the nitwits going by on their motorcycles and loud mufflers and stuff?
Up to your commissioner.
Now, we'll see if we,
Spend I don't know how many $1,000s on that, the idea of sound.
It's stupid. Somebody could ride by with a machine gun and shoot us all.
You gotta see that wall out there.
Hey, don't mention that wall. I brought that wall here.
Okay, we're still on record here, and we're still conducting our meeting.
I'd like to see that closed where we have our meetings.
No one yet.
To adjourn.
I'll second it.
Bill seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. It was unanimous.
John, I'd like,
Bill,